No. Right. All right. I have let people in the waiting room in, so we are good to go, Mr. Chair.
Good to go? Oh, thanks, Shane. All right, so it's 6:30 p.m. on November 5th, 2025, and we do have quorum of the planning board. So I've got item 1 and call the Bridgewater Planning Board to order.
Supposed to go off so that I can.
You're not in Zoom.
I am in.
Should I call the meeting to order too as well for CED? Yes? No?
Apologies. Pat's just reading the.
No, so my screen blanked out and then I heard Mark talking. I'm like, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, should
Yeah,
I,
you
should
just
I
read.
call our meeting to order as well?
Yeah, Pat's just reading the governor's order.
Yeah, I'm just reading the
Okay.
governor's thing in, and then you can open your meeting. Yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All right. So this meeting is being held remotely this evening. The following Bridgewater Planning Board members are participating remotely this evening. I'm Patrick Driscoll, the chair. Mr. Michael McDonald is the vice chair. Mr. Eric Costa and Mr. KJ Fabrowski. During this meeting, all votes will be taken as roll calls. We also have the following Bridgewater town staff with us remotely this evening. Mr. Robert Rulli, the Community Economic Development Director, Mr. Shane O'Brien, the Town Planner, Mr. Greg Tanzi, the Town Engineer, and I believe Mr. Stephen Solari, the Building Commissioner, is with us as well. At this point, everyone's mics are unmuted. The board's mics will be unmuted through the whole meeting. And as items appear on the agenda, the project's representatives' mics will be unmuted. If there's a public hearing and allows public comment, we ask that you use the chat feature to ask your name and your question by listing your name and your address and your question. The chair of the host this evening, Mr. O'Brien, will recognize all questions in order. You can use the raise my hand feature in the participant menu, and you'll be unmuted when the chair or the host recognizes you. Please state your name and address before asking a question or making a comment. If you're on the phone, you can always dial *9 to raise your hand. So I have opened our meeting. So Mr. Lindy, if you'd like to open yours, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Driscoll, Chair. I'd like to open the meeting of the Community and Economic Development Committee of the Town Council. Ditto to everything that you already said, but I will introduce my two members, Marilee Kenny Hunt and Sonia Striggles, both counselors. And I see that we also have Counselor Adeline Ellenberg joining us. And I did want to recognize our town manager is online as well, Justin Casanova Davis. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Lindy. So Council Hunt, I know you're the sponsor of this. If you're ready, I can turn it over to you to introduce it. If not, I can jump. We have some continuations that some public members may be online for that we could hop to.
Yeah, can you still wait a bit because I can't find anything. Could I ask Counselor Striggles if this was sent today by Debbie? Can you send it to me because I found what Debbie sent me and it isn't there.
Mr. Walsh's information is not included in the email that she sent. If you go into your search, you might be able to find what he sent us because he sent it to the two of us.
Okay.
You might just be able to put his name or.
Yeah.
So Mark, do you want to take a motion to recess your public hearing, and then we'll take a motion to recess ours, then I'll go through all our continuations.
Or I'll ask for a motion to recess our public hearing.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and this will be by roll call vote. Shane, should I do that or would you do that?
That would be you guys.
Okay, so Sonia?
Aye.
Marilee?
Aye.
And myself, Mark, aye.
All right, so guys, do we planning board members, do we have a motion to recess just for a few minutes so we can take some continuations and allow members of the public that are here for these public hearings to go on with their evening?
So moved.
So a motion by Mr. McDonald, do we have a second?
I'll second.
That by Mr. Costa. I'll take the roll. Mr. Fabrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. All right. So just back to planning board business. We'll continue with our agenda and come back to the public hearing when they're ready to go. Item 3, we have a couple site plan reviews. So we have 0 Lakeshore Center. This is map 96, lot 16. Encompass Health, it's a site plan approval under section 9.4 and 10.6 of the Bridgewater zoning ordinance, and a modification of the existing special permit from the 1988 decision for proposed inpatient rehabilitation hospital and associated parking and drainage. This is continued from our October 15th, 2025 meeting, and I believe we received a continuation request this week. Mr. O'Brien, is that correct?
That is correct.
what-
But I just want to make a point of clarification too, and have a vote on the matter to discuss establishing a 53G account to allow. So we received a scope of services that shit, what is it? What is the name of
For the
that?
water impact.
Yeah, the water impact form. It's not so we got a scope of services for the water impact form for 4,500. So what I'm just looking for is the board vote to establish a 53G account to allow that to proceed. And then we go from there and see what the results are.
So before we continue, you want a motion to establish a 53G account? Do we need to also motion the amount or just?
Just not to exceed $10,000. We do have an amount, but typically I would ask for to establish a 53G account as not to exceed
And this is
$10,000.
because we want the water impacts review.
That is correct. This is a request of the board for a water impact form.
Okay.
Or a
So
water impact study.
before we have a motion to continue this public hearing for Zero Lakeshore Center, do we have a motion to allow for the establishment of a 53G account? Not to
Uh,
exceed 10,000?
I apologize for my ignorance, but Mr. O'Brien, can you explain what a 53G account is to
A
me?
53G account, sure, of course. A 53G account allows the planning board to ask for a third-party consultant on behalf of, either another department or the board to provide information pertaining to the project at hand. So the board has requested in the past and wants information regarding the impact of this project on the water supply. So we're initiating that process through a 53G account at the board's request.
And who pays for this account, Mr. O'Brien?
The applicant. So this is all at the expense of the applicant. So the expectation is that we need more information and we would like a study done, and that expense falls not on the town but on the applicant to provide that for the consultant to review.
Excellent. Thank you very much. In that case, I motion to approve the establishment of a 53G account for this project.
Okay.
Or-
Give a second, then if there's more discussion, we get a more discussion.
Shane, I was curious, how are you coming up with the fees on that account?
That it was established based on the consultant that DPW has typically worked with. So for this proposal, it is 4,500.
Okay, and then I saw that you had a previous email out that you had a kind of a breakdown on, different subdivision amounts or house amounts or whatnot. Will that be as part of this account?
It would be based on the scope of services provided. It would require the third-party consultant and the applicant to kind of go back and forth in discussion of what the water impacts are and the information that they have between each other. And that information will be shared with us as well as DPW and then provided as part of the public hearing process.
So all the fees, even with because this one here, you're talking about the commercial, but you also had a breakdown of house lots and different other things as well. Is that
Well,
the same account or is that different?
no, this is different. So that the initial fee schedule that is provided doesn't have a consideration for this water impact form. This is a separate fee that we've established through this public hearing process to help guide us in terms of, the board's decision making on this.
All right, so last one. What is it that is going to bring you to need a separate outside company looking at it versus the other ones? What is the criteria that's going to push you into wanting to study?
For this particular consultant,
Yeah, or what is the criteria that makes it to the point where you need an outside consultant?
well, I would say
Jen,
that
Jen, could I just,
you may.
so Mr. Fabrowski, we have, in this particular district, there was a special permit. So when they established a special permit to do all the commercial up there and they've added a bunch of residential, they have they have water and sewer caps built in to their permit. So I think this is to look at the whole system and to kind of look at how that impacts the overall special permit and the water usage for that project. But in their 1988 decision, I believe it was, they brought the line down, they paid for the line, but they also had caps on what they could use for water and sewer. And I think this will look at, I think we're asking for this to help the Water and Sewer Commission determine, what the current demand is, what future demands are, and can the system handle it, and do we need upgrades, based on the future development of the site?
Yeah, and what I would add to that past question, it would also help the planning board's ability to kind of proceed further with this application and review, because as we have heard from board members and DPW staff and members of the public too, there are concerns. So I think it's appropriate that this board takes this action to establish this account to get additional information to help, with review of this project.
And just to be clear, the applicant agreed to this and the amount, correct?
Correct. They provided provided us a check. I just can't establish an account without, uh, that board allowing for it. So I think we have a motion and a second.
We have a motion, we don't have a second yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Motion made. So Mr. Fabrowski or
Second, I'll second.
second it, okay. So we motion a second, any more discussion on it? Then I'll take the roll. Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Fabrowski,
Yes,
and I'm a yes. All
Um,
right, so back to the original. When were they looking for continuation?
oh,
Shannon?
so the applicant has requested a continuance of the public hearing to the December 3rd meeting.
And do we have room on that meeting?
We do.
So is there a motion to continue 0 Lakeshore Center, which is map 96 lot 16, to the December 3rd meeting?
So moved.
So Mr. McDonald, do we have a second?
I'll take the second.
Mr. Costa? Any discussion? Okay, I'll take the roll. Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Fabrowski?
yes,
And I'm a yes. Okay, thank you. Next up, again, on the site plan review, under our third item of the agenda, we have 110 Elm Street. This is also known as map 30 lot 20. A site plan review under 10.6 for the construction of 27,000 square feet of commercial with parking and other site improvements. This has been continued since September 17th. Shane, they sent in a continuation letter until when?
They asked for a continuance to the December 3rd meeting. Essentially what they've asked for is that they're currently waiting on the testing results to come back from the LSP through the conservation process to get the restoration work moving along.
Okay, and this is nothing, we're not holding them up at all. This is their own doing, and they don't want to proceed till everything's done.
I would say that it would probably be most appropriate based on what is occurring
Okay.
with the conservation process, with enforcement orders and an NOI and some restoration work needed to be complete, that they want to probably more get their ducks in a row prior to asking to build something at the site.
Okay. So do we have a motion to continue 1010 Elm Street, map 30, lot 20 to December 3rd as well?
So moved.
By Mr. McDonald, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Costa, I'll take the roll if there's no discussion. Mr. Fabrowski,
yes,
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Item 4, we have definitive subdivision, public hearing continuation, public hearing continued, excuse me. This is 593 Plymouth Street by Barty and Investment Group LLC. This is a proposed subdivision, Revelation Road, with 6 buildable lots and 2 drainage lots on 5.9 acres of land. Per the Bridgewater subdivision rules and regulations, they continued this from October 15th. They also sent in a letter to be continued, is that correct?
That is correct. They are looking for a continuance to provide new plans and have town staff review said plans based on comments received. But they're looking to continue to the next meeting, November 19th.
Okay, so just that is in person, correct?
That would be a hybrid meeting, yes. So you can attend Zoom or in person.
All right, so 593 Plymouth Street is requested a continuation to November 19th. Do we have a motion on that?
I'll take the motion.
By Mr. Costa, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. McDonald, any discussion?
Figure he makes it up this time.
Any discussion? No, all right, so Mr. McDonald,
Aye. Sorry, yes.
Mr. Fabrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Okay, are we ready to return? Those are all, so anybody that's here for 0 Lakeshore Center, 1010 Elm Street, or 593 Plymouth Street, they have continued. They will not be going forward this evening. Mrs. Hunt, are you ready for us yet? You're muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Well, Pat, do you want me to share the legal ad to the screen and we at least read
Yeah,
the
well,
legal ad
yeah,
into the
well, yeah,
record?
so, all right, so let's do this. Hold on a second, though. So do we have a motion to come out of recess and go back to the public hearing, on FY 26005? Does somebody have a plan with a motion to come out of recess?
I
I'll have a motion.
I
Come
can
out of
move it.
recess.
So by Mr. Costa, we have a second.
Second.
Mr. McDonald, any discussion? So Mr. Fabrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. You want to come out of recess?
Yes, and I'll entertain a motion to come out of recess.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, I'll do a roll call. Sonia Striggles?
sorry, I'm trying to send Mary Lee things via email and going back and forth on my phone since my computer's doing an update. Aye.
Okay. Okay, Marilee Hunt
Yes.
and Mark Lindy, yes.
Okay, and then Mark, do you want to read in the public notice?
Sure, I'll be glad to. Legal notice of public hearing, zoning amendment, Bridgewater Planning Board pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5. Notice is hereby given. The Bridgewater Planning Board and the CED Committee will be holding a joint public hearing on Wednesday, November 5th, 2025 via Zoom, and the link is there to receive public input on, I'm having a hard time reading it because it's on DFY 26, thank you, 005, proposed zoning amendment, senior village housing development, section 8.7.3, land site development requirements, table 1, open space preservation area. The proposed zoning amendment is on file in the town clerk's office in the Community and Economic Development Office at 66 Central Square, Bridgewater, Mass. 02324, and to view online via the link. Bridgewater Planning Board, Brockton Enterprise, 1022 and 1029.
Okay. Mr. O'Brien, do you have a copy of the ordinance that you can grab?
Yeah,
put up?
I can. I just gotta make sure I get the right one. That's the one that's approved. We can simplify this process, share our screen, and can scroll up. We can see sponsors and times and dates, and there you go.
So Council Hunt, do you want us to turn it over to you first, or give us a little background?
I can give you some background. I'm thinking that if person who brought it up to me is he with us. I can't see from my computer who else with us.
Mary Lee, do you want me to read it into the record? Would that be helpful?
You can, Sonia, if you'd like to. That would be great. I've got the same piece of paper that's here, the order, if that's what we're going to read in.
Yeah, I think we're just reading it into the record so that we can
Okay.
get things started and then we can go to public comment from there.
Okay, no, then I will read it in. The order D FY 26005, proposed zoning ordinance amendment, senior village housing development. Ordered pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A that the town council assemble votes to amend zoning ordinance amendment pursuant to senior village housing development, amending section 8.7.3, land and site development requirements, table 1, open space preservation area follows. That's what I've got.
And the current text talks about the minimum area, residential AB, open space preservation area, 40%, RC, 40%, and RD, 20%. The proposed amended text on table 1
Change it.
is minimum area RAB, 40%, RC, 40%, RD, 40%.
40% also. Yes.
Yep.
So that's the change. It's changing the RD.
Yep.
Mrs. Hunt, if I can ask, why do you think this proposed change is necessary?
That's what I would like to have the person who requested this from me to speak. And he said he was going to be here tonight. So I think, yeah, James Walsh. So I'm wondering if James can spend a little bit of time talking to us about it now.
Well, just, so I guess, and I guess I'm okay with it if we're a little informal, but do you want to, so typically when we have a public hearing,
I'll-
we'd have the boards would ask questions, communicate with staff, and then we could open it up for public comment, and Mr. Walsh could speak then. How do you want to
Okay.
handle that, Mark?
I'd prefer to proceed as usual, Mr.
Yeah.
Driscoll. I'd like Mrs. Hunt's answer as to why she thinks this is a necessary change.
And this is the problem. I had all that information here and it is not available to me right now. Sonia, I think you have it and you sent it to me, but all I can do is get it on my phone. It's very tiny and hard to read.
Of course.
Well, do you want to go? I mean, I guess we could go. Do you want to go to public comment now, Mark, and then we can come back to the board? I mean,
that would be fine. If that helps.
I'm sorry to be making such a mess of this.
Yeah, technology is always an issue. So I'll recognize Mr. James Walsh to explain his bringing it forward and Marilee then sponsoring it.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Marilee. James Walsh, 60 Crescent Street. And I know this has been like a distant memory. I know we first started talking about this like a while ago, so I was pulling out my papers too. But just to kind of share a little bit of context and why I raised this initially to the CED committee and why I was grateful for the committee to take it up. I was in favor of this amendment to standardize the open space preservation area across to 40% across zones. For those who might not be familiar with the amendment, this was the amendment we passed earlier this year to give developers some incentives by allowing extra density in exchange for giving some benefits both for our older residents as well as for the environment as well. I had been in favor of that original ordinance, but I was also in favor of a few amendments at the time. Some of those amendments, I'm very grateful, were implemented. This one to standardize the open space area was not. And I think at the time we thought like, let's see how this happens. Let's see some of the projects that come through the pipeline. And now that we're seeing them, I think it's worth us revisiting this and potentially closing what I think is a little bit of a loophole. And again, when we discussed this earlier in the year, the Senior Housing Village Amendment, it was promised to provide a couple benefits in exchange for allowing developers to increase the number of units they could build on a site. And two of those benefits, those benefits included one, providing some on-site open space that enabled older adults to stay active with passive recreation opportunities, ensuring that those older adults could age in place even if they had reduced mobility. And then second was to preserve the environment. And you'll notice in the purpose of that ordinance that it's expected to conserve environmental features, woodlands, open space, et cetera. And in both of these dimensions, the subject project under the Senior Village Housing Amendment or Ordinance rather had to outperform a traditional subdivision. But when we saw, a project come through the pipeline here, I think we saw that there's a little bit of a little bit of wiggle room here where a developer may not actually give us the full benefits that we deserve, but gets the full benefits of increased density. So this project that came through, they're more than doubling the number of units they propose to build on the site. But the open space requirement, which again was supposed to be there to give those older residents a place to passively recreate on site rather, it's entirely made up of stormwater retention basins, which although technically there's no building on it, but it's essentially a drainage field and there's no recreational opportunity there for residents. So I think we're seeing from that example that the ordinance as written is not providing that. And if we boosted that 40% up, or I'm sorry, we boosted that open space up, we might be able to get closer to that. I know there were some arguments against this, which I think are valid, but with which I would respectfully disagree. One is that lots are smaller, so we need a smaller percentage. But I think since we have the percentage itself would flex depending on how large the site is. And we have a 7-acre minimum in residential D for these projects. So, 40% open space would still leave a lot of buildable area and still enable developers to double that density just on a smaller site. And the other argument I heard is that, since these sites are generally closer to downtown, that older adults won't need the passive recreation on site. They could walk to downtown or they could walk to a park. And I think that's fair, but I still would argue that residents deserve to have some accessible, safe, open space on site without having to leave the property and go on the roads. Especially when you consider, residential D stretches pretty far from downtown. There are parts of it that are about 2 miles away. And it's just, I think, kind of unlikely that someone, especially with limited mobility, would be able to make that, 3 to 4 mile round trip walk. I think especially after coming out of yesterday's meeting where we're saying, for MBTA zones, we can't build more than a half mile because young professionals won't walk that far to their apartments. I don't think it's fair to say that our older adults would have to walk about 4 times that. So in summary, I hope we'll standardize that across the board so that we're ensuring that our older adults get some benefits out of these projects, the same way that we're giving some developers some benefits. Thank you.
Mr. Lund, do you mind if I ask a question just to Mr. Walsh and to Mr.
That's
O'Brien?
totally fine.
So, typically I'm all for more open space and want to have more open space at every possible place we can have it. But I guess my concern here is that this wouldn't reduce density at all, right? So in order to determine density, you take the total developable tract and you divide it by the underlying lot area per dwelling unit. So in residential D, that'd be 10,000, right? So if you had an 80,000 square foot site, let's say, right away, your base density is 8, and then there's a multiplier, right? And that multiplier is 1.25, right? So you're getting 10 units essentially, right? So whether you have 20% open space or you have 40% open space, you're still allowed to build the same density. And these are smaller tracts, and residential D is the first rural or residential district, it's the first rung out of downtown, so to speak. And I guess my thing is that if a developer can get 10 units, they're going to get 10 units, right? And they may not build the type of housing we want if we're requiring 40% open space. It may be more of an apartment building as opposed to nice townhouses with zero entry with garages and things of that nature. So I think it gives the developer a lot more flexibility in design when the density really isn't affected at all. I mean, you can still build that same density. And I think that if we're trying to encourage townhouses and different types of development in town, instead of these box, apartment complexes that get slammed up, I think that allowing less open space near the center of town gives a developer more flexibility to lay that out like we saw on the concept plan that we saw on Plymouth Street. I think that if we did this on that site, yes, we may achieve more open space, but now the units might not be as desirable, may not be as nicely built or laid out, and the density isn't going to change. The multiplier is still the same. So I didn't know if you thought about that. If and I guess, Mr. Walsh, I'm trying to figure out like what the intent of the ordinance is. Is it to preserve more open space? Or is it to try to reduce density? Because I don't think going from 20 to 40 or 20 to 40 is going to reduce density. I think it's just going to create a different type of development.
I apologize. I'm not super familiar with this format. Should I?
Oh, yeah,
respond
just a follow-up question to
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really fair point. I think, I think looking at that senior village housing, that ordinance, I agree that I think as we think about closer to downtown, it would be nice to have these kind of um, more town like townhomes and whatnot, and instead of larger apartment buildings. And I think with the restrictions that are in there, because correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, but I think these developments are limited to either single family, duplex, or townhomes. I don't think they can build a apartment building.
They couldn't build an apartment building, however, there's still opportunities based on someone could build a senior housing facility that could essentially demonstrate the same usage. The goal of kind of this past ordinances was to allow for owner occupied properties, home ownership for 55 plus, whereas our current senior housing facility is more so a company comes in and allows rentals to, seniors. So that's the differentiation between this proposal. Both would require special permits of the planning board, so they would both come before this board for a review process.
And and I agree with you. I'm looking at 5B. It says when structures are placed on a common lot, which is the design we saw. It says the following shall apply, and it talks to each individual structure. So, I mean, I still think that they're just going to be much tighter together. They may be triplexes instead of duplexes. They may have closer proximity to each other. I just think that those units are going to get put in there regardless, and it allows for a nicer layout where this is we're in C we're in residential C and residential AB. You need much bigger tracts of land, and the density is less, so it's easy to hit that 40% and still have that flexibility to lay things out nicely. I think when you're down closer to downtown, that density is much higher, and the required land area and frontage and everything is much less. So I just think it allows it to lay out more. But that's just my thought. So
Excuse me. I'll excuse me. Bad. Get a little cough. Mr. O'Brien, is it correct that stormwater basins count as open space in our regulations?
I believe that the way that it is spelled out in this ordinance I believe that this ordinance doesn't correct what is currently open space. I think it refers to what our current definition of open space is. So I believe,
So I'm sorry to
go ahead.
So under our current definition of open space, would stormwater basins count as open space?
I believe so. Let me just
yeah, in our
confirm.
open space development, you can put drainage basins on open space lots. And
Yeah.
Mr. Walsh is correct as I read further down. It does say the development should include a mixture of architectural styles, Cape Cod, colonial, or ranch design houses, duplexes, triplexes, or other multi-unit townhouses, right? So you could attach a bunch of townhouses that are blended and dispersed throughout the site. So I apologize for saying it could be one big building. I'm wrong there.
I guess my concern is you know, we could see one of those come before us where it's, you know, the drainage lots are 15% of the 20% open space. So I'll have to wait to Mr. O'Brien's answer for that, but like that just seems outside of the intent to me.
Well, if it makes you feel worse, that's the definition of open space. It wouldn't be necessarily singular to the senior housing village development. This is what we would refer to open space throughout the town.
It does make me feel worse. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
You're welcome.
So, Mr. Lundy, should we see if there's any other public members that would like to speak?
This is Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street.
Sure.
Sorry, I still don't have that raise the hand feature. I'm a little ignorant on the senior village housing. I apologize. I just wanted to know, is there a designated area in town for this, or this could be anywhere in town? I mean, what exactly would a senior village housing be? Is it anywhere in those residential areas, or is it specific to a certain part of town?
Yep, in 8.73, it says that it can be in residential AB, residential C, or residential D. The minimum lot size in AB is 15 acres. Residential C is 10 acres, and residential D, which is the one we're focusing on, is 7 acres. So
So
in
anyway,
that residential D, you need the least amount of land, and you can actually build the most units.
Right, but the senior village housing is not specific to a certain area of town. It can be anywhere in town within those
It's
A,
it's
B,
it's
C.
it's specific to someone that has the proper acreage to do one.
Yeah, right, but it's not specific to a certain part, like
No,
this area is for this only. Okay.
No, and that was
Oh.
part of kind of the discussion early on, Janet, just to kind of fill you in, was
Yeah,
that
sorry.
at first there was a thought process of overlay districts, but ultimately what kind of was came up with is that you can kind of zone it within town, but you have to have a certain amount of acreage to be applicable to this. So we have other
Okay.
zoning in town, the open space development, this does this, the I believe it's the mobile home elderly district also has a certain acreage point.
Okay.
So there are specific requirements to be eligible to utilize this type of development.
Okay. And I just want to comment, I am listening to everything. I'm very supportive of open space, so I would be in favor of 40 for each district. So I support the amendment of 40% for each, or changing RD to 40%. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me look for some virtual hands or real life hands or anyone in the chat.
So just while Mr. O'Brien's doing that, is there anybody that would like to speak from the public? And we can come back to it, but.
Do not see any virtual hands raised, nor do I see anyone in the chat, Mr. Chair.
Mr. O'Brien, in your professional opinion, do you think that this revision would make development of these kind of projects in the residential D district that we have financially unviable?
I wouldn't say that from a financial, I can't speak on the financial implications of this. I would just say that it would be more difficult to do a project of 7 acres when you're looking to have 40% of that, at least you're looking at like 3 of those acres in the downtown area be preserved for open space. I feel like it's a little more appropriate to have this 20%. As Pat alluded to, this residential D area is surrounding the CBD area. The goal of this is to, especially with this district, is to kind of focus the attention on senior housing around the downtown and the parkland around downtown. So I'll share my screen too, and then I'm gonna make a reference to an
But Chang,
old.
just why are you looking for that too? The other thing that I think is important, looking at the zoning, right?
Yeah.
It says deed shall include references to recorded ownership of the preservation area and the establishment of an HOA. So I think it's important to note that this 20% is in addition to all the grass and the areas around the units. So this is dedicated open space that's in addition to what's amongst the structures on site.
Sure.
And in that district now, right? And in that district now, if we go to the table of use regulations,
Yeah, I can do that.
right? If we go to the table of use regulations, I believe the total open space on a lot in that district now is only 20%.
Hmm.
So this would be 20% in addition to what's around the property. So if I go to that,
Yeah, because the essentially the way that we're designing this is open space, and then each of through that preliminary subdivision process, we're looking at it as if each of these lots were split up. So it's 20, like you're saying, the 20% of each individual property, as well as how they establish, what did we call it? It's the no, it's exclusive use area. So
yeah.
we define exclusive use areas, which we've had around town in certain properties like Flagstone, but we've kind of defined it through this process. So this would give opportunities for each owner of a property to have exclusive use areas as well as the open space area around their exclusive use areas. So more of a kind of a community space.
So it actually, so by doing this in residential D, yes, it's higher density, but you're actually going to have more, you could potentially have more open space than a conventional project because a conventional project only requires 20% on a lot. So you could pave and build a house and everything else. This ordinance says you have to have 20% dedicated, and then after that you can develop 80% of the area, but that developed area is going to have grass and landscaping and all that other stuff. So I think the overall open space is going to be a lot higher than 20.
Yeah, and I would also kind of focus attention on, I provide this as part of my memo, is that we would require sidewalk to be at least on one side of these projects for all projects in A, B, C, or D. But ultimately, too, for reference purposes, if we're going to talk my gym, is that part of the request to the applicant for that project, if they ever decide to come before us for an official special permit application, would be looking to establish a crosswalk or a rapid rectangular beacon to minimally the other side of the street that does have sidewalks. So it would be making it ADA accessible and allowing for safe travel. What I wouldn't want in the residential D district is that you're establishing one of these properties and it seems like you're on an island. The goal of having these senior housing villages in the residential D area is to kind of integrate it as an option to, you know, these parks, trails, and just areas within the CBD districts. Doesn't force anyone to have to walk everywhere. I just think that it's a good option and it's a nice housing choice um, option to provide, um, rather than just kind of look at, duplexes or single family houses and the other uses that are typically allowed and permitted within our residential D districts.
I guess my question would be, do we think there's any room to meet in the middle? Do like a 30%?
Well, I can share my screen and see how. Let me just do one thing. Oh, actually, what did I do with it? Apologies. Um, I guess in the sense of I'm not looking to be in favor of this amendment. However, if in the future we want to look to discuss what open space is comparative to, I think we may want to have a bigger discussion about what open space is, because we've also had discussions in the past about, we talked about it for previous projects about pervious pavements and other uses, and what is truly open space within the community. We define it in a certain way, but um, from my feeling of this ordinance, the way that the ordinance was designed was to be different. There's differences between residential A, B, C, and D. Residential D is that kind of transitional area into the downtown area, as well as kind of a buffer from the, industrial areas within town, or let me see what I got. Let me bring up my screen at least, so we have a visual aid. Just in regards to kind of how I view, I guess, others may have a different opinion, but just kind of how I view the residential D is kind of this transition from residential C. You have the business B area in Bedford Street, as well as you have some industrial B properties kind of within that area. But every part of the downtown is at least surrounded partially by residential D. So looking at residential D as an option, as well as I got one more thing to bring up. So a long, long time ago in the year 2002, the town of Bridgewater had a master plan. So not to say that, I've looked through our master plan and, well, I have, but it's looking at options and figuring out what's possible. So one of the things that was recommended as part of our 2002 master plan recommendation was, prioritizing high density senior housing near the town center, as well as promoting mixed use. And looking at the current status of that is saying, oh, well, we've done a fairly good job looking at mixed use in the central business district, but we've kind of left senior housing to the wayside, with the exception of, within the recodification, the planning board included senior housing facilities to be an option. We haven't gotten a lot of traction with that. We've heard from people interested in assisted living and all that, but ultimately, to the goal of, my feeling of senior housing too is that the idea of downsizing is important. However, there is still that feeling of home ownership that people want to maintain. So, to downsize and to rent is a fair option, but it shouldn't be the only option. So, I welcome senior housing facilities within the residential D, ABC, as well as senior housing village development. So just making sure that there's options out there for the residents. But, in regards to percentages, there's a reason why we're looking at 20% in D and 40 in the other districts.
Thank you, Shane.
problem.
Carlton Hunt has his hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I understand a little bit about the 2002 master plan, but what does the current master plan say about that? Because that's what's more relevant at this day and age. More importantly, are there alternatives to the catch basin that basically capture street runoff and then filter out particles and that kind of thing? Because the use of pervious, there are a lot of pervious types of pavement, not pavement, but actually areas that can carry 18 wheelers, but you still have grassland under it. So what are those options, and why are we not looking at those in terms of these percentages? Thank you.
I'll answer the last question, then the first question, if through the chair. So in terms of pervious pavement, it's not open space based on the definition, so we can't consider it open space. We leave that up to an applicant to look to consider it. What I would warn any applicant, and I think we make this clear in the senior housing village development, is I don't think the town will accept any roadway that includes pervious pavement because just of the implications of maintenance. So there's that. In terms of other drainage utilization of properties, typically we ask for applicants through the subdivision process and through our stormwater standards to provide roof drains. But typically too, if you know, if there's issues of high groundwater table for certain properties, you know, some developers and engineers have to be creative, but you could ultimately create, you know, drainage basins within the street or as well as culverts. It's just a matter of creativity of an engineer and how much certain developers are being willing to pay to establish certain drainage structures. Regarding what I shared on the screen in terms of the 2002 master plan and how things have changed, I would still say that there's a need for senior housing just based on, you know, if you I don't think that's necessarily changed in the needs of the town. I think that was discussed through the planning board process initially. But what I would say is that looking at that 2002 master plan and what is this information that I provided as part of that was showing what have we done since that 2002 master plan and what things have we left behind and what things should we continue to look at. So I would consider that senior housing, you know, around the town center should be something that is still considered. And as the ordinance is currently in existence, we've adopted it and planning board and council has supported that.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Brien, if you had to estimate, I know this isn't going to be an exact number. What percentage of open space do you think, like storm drains, drainage lots, that kind of thing, would take up of a usual project?
It depends on project. It ultimately depends on project. I'd have to see the project too. Ultimately, you as a planning board have some sway in the matter. You know, if someone just says, "Oh, here's all my open space. It's in a big detention basin. I meet the criteria." You guys, as the special permit granting authority, do have some leeway to say, "Well, have you considered this or consider that?" You're not restrained by a particular design. You do have the ability to be creative, whether it be through waivers or be creative in the sense of asking an applicant to change their plan to better fit the neighborhood and the feel of each senior housing project that would come before you.
That's a respectable answer, a good answer, but our authority has been restricted several times on special permits. So I'm just trying to get more clarification um, as to, you know, what what standard has to be met. Um, for example, if a project came before us where all their open space was drainage lots, but they met the requirements, would we theoretically be allowed to let that go ahead?
I would say no. I would say that there is some semblance of form that comes into these projects. I don't know what the special permit particular standards are for if we made specific special permitting standards for this project and conditions for it, but I would say that you guys have some jurisdiction and you guys have stated on the record that sometimes you just don't like a project. So at least you can tie into what our current special permit standards are by saying these drainage basins can be done a certain way, or you're going to keep these trees and relocate your drainage basin to some other way. So, and that comes in the form of you know, stormwater review from engineering as well too. So there's many ways that the board has, you guys have a lot more power, being the special permit granting authority comparative to, you know, looking at it from just strictly a site plan review perspective.
Could we, in our letter to the council, like kind of state that you know, like drainage basins and that kind of thing will not count as open space?
No, the definition is of open space. You would have to consider open space differently through a different ordinance. So what we're looking at before us is particular to senior housing percentages. If we want to look at other changes, that would come in the form of a different zoning amendment particular to what we call in our sections of definitions.
Understood. Thank you.
Mr. Walsh, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate the conversation. I think I'm understanding the different factors here. I think what I just keep anchoring back on is like looking at what's in front of us, right? Looking at what is a plan that's presented versus what is something that we would expect on a similar site. And I think of, I think of my own family who are kind of navigating some of these decisions and what they're, what they're looking for in terms of, aging in place. And I just, if there's just something about this that just doesn't feel right. If we have a subdivision that would have to build some sort of stormwater drainage, and then we're saying that, another project can come in, and I understand there is some, some flexibility there, but that one of the benefits that we expected out of that is entirely met by those same, kind of drainage reservoirs. It just doesn't quite feel right. And I think, if we go back to the intent of providing these places for people to have home ownership, to be able to age in place, like this just doesn't feel like the intent, right? Like the intent should be somewhere where they can kind of recreate, they can exercise, kind of stay active on site, that doesn't require them, with limited mobility to go like 2 miles into town, which, some parts of residential D are. So I do get it. I guess I would just kind of challenge a little bit, just the reality of what we were seeing coming in, and if that's really what we think, fits the intent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Marilee, did you want to speak more at this point? You're on mute.
Yep. I really don't think I have anything to add. I think everybody has been
Yeah, I'm at a meeting
quite
now.
thorough in their
Mhm.
discussions of it, so I don't have anything more to add.
So Mark, can I just interrupt for a minute? So after listening to Mr. Walsh, I mean, I do agree that, I mean, if a large chunk of the 20% was drainage, I mean, that wouldn't be very viable open space, and I would hope that the planning board, whether it's this board or another board in the future, would understand that and say, hey, the intent is to have 20% usable open space, right? So on a 7-acre parcel, right, you're gonna have what, 1.5 acres or something like that, usable. So I would hope that that would be the case. Maybe a better way to look at it is that, drainage structures have to be outside of the open space, or drainage structures have to only, make up 10% of the open space or something like that.
I think you're right on it, Pat. I think that's what I would say as well, is that changing the verbiage to say usable space, 20% usable space.
Mr. O'Brien, are we in our
No. No, like I said, the focus is on the percentage because that's what the legal ad
I
was.
know, yeah.
If we want to have a different discussion beyond, that, because like I said to you, Michael, I think the implications for this isn't based on a particular development or a particular project. This, there's multiple locations, and even if you change the percentage of this, it doesn't change the fact or the concerns that you may have of open space and drainage.
I understand. Thank you.
So I don't know if Councilor Striggles wanted to comment at all.
Yeah, I mean, I hear wholeheartedly what Mr. Walsh is saying. I don't really love the idea, and haven't really loved the idea since I was reviewing the plans, that 15% of what we're dealing with here, we're kind of only going to be left with 5%, and then you kind of start questioning how usable is that 5% when you're only requiring the 20%. I think it might just end up being, like Chair Driscoll has alluded to, a bigger conversation about changing the open space language. And maybe by changing that, we're able to have developers adhere to the standard that we hope they will, of having it be the 20% usable space versus just 20% of open space that we all can agree you can't use drainage basins for recreational activity. It might sound great on paper that they're quote unquote preserving spaces, but they're really not, because it's not a usable, tangible space that someone can leave their home, walk 50 feet and enjoy. So I do see the benefit of an aging in place type environment. And I think that's what a lot of my customers in my world look for. They still want to be active. They still want to feel like they have room to exercise, entertain their friends and family potentially. And this kind of limits that as far as this project specifically. But I don't necessarily know if changing it in a blanket way for everyone, where this might only be a this parcel problem with it being a 15% drainage basin type situation. I think it's more so kind of working with the developer to see if there's any way to get some additional open space on this particular site, just so that it's more advantageous to someone. But I don't know if changing it completely at a 20% to a 40%. I liked Mr. McDonald's idea of maybe meeting in the middle, but then you run the risk of someone potentially needing 25% for drainage. So now we're still in the same potential vicious cycle of not getting that open space that we all can agree is important. So I'm kind of in the middle. I see the value of having it, but I do think that for the purpose of this amendment, I don't know if I can 100% get behind this change, but I could get behind changing our language around the usable space conversation.
You know,
Uh,
so
Mayor, Mr. Rizzo?
to jump on what Council Striggles was, I was thinking while Council Striggles was talking, in what Mr. Walsh said. I think the different types of developments, right? So I think that when you're on Pleasant Street or you're on South Street near the center of town, that's going to be a different type of development. That's going to be they're going to be closer together. It's going to be a little more of an urban feel because it's going to be tighter. It requires less land to develop. We allow high density on less land, and there's less open space. And I think there's a group of people that want that. They want to be able to walk out their front door and walk down to hopefully a new revitalized downtown with restaurants and shops. And I also think that there's going to be people that don't want that type of housing, and they don't want to be near the center of town. And I think that's why Mr. O'Brien designed residential AB, which is further down South Street or Vernon Street over by the golf course. And the density is roughly, so basically what residential D allows is 5 units per acre. Residential AB, you need 15 acres, you need 40% open space, and you can only build 15 houses or one per acre. So that's going to be a very different type of development, I think, that Mr. Walsh is describing, where you're going to have more walking trails and more open space, and it's going to be 15 acres, and the number of units is going to be much, much less. So, I mean, I think I get it, and I understand it's not ideal to have the drainage basins on there, and maybe that's something we need to look at. But I think the way Mr. O'Brien laid it out, as you move further out of the center of town, the parcels need to be bigger and the density is less. So for somebody that wants less density and more walking trails and open space, they're gonna have to move to one further out of town. For somebody that wants that somewhat downtown feel, where they can walk out their front door and walk to the center of town, these are gonna be denser neighborhoods with probably less area to walk and stuff on site. So
Is it not our duty though, Pat, to make sure that all these houses are, good, livable, in good condition, somewhere you'd want to live? Isn't that our duty as a planning board?
Yeah, and I no, I agree, but I'd also say that we all endorsed a concept near the center of town that had that met this criteria in residential D, and we all thought it was a pretty good design, if I recall. I don't remember what the vote was, but
No, that's true.
I think it was a favorable vote. So we saw a project that applied these rules, and the planning board recently said, "Hey, this looks good, move forward." But it's contingent upon water and sewer, and now we're saying that it isn't good. So I just think the different areas of town, and one again, residential D, essentially you can do 5 units per acre. And I believe a developer is going to try to do that regardless, and they're just going to be tighter together. Yeah, you may have more open space, but you're gonna have units in closer proximity. And maybe the way to handle it is to say, drainage infrastructure has to be either underground, um, or it has to be, off the open space parcel, one or the other.
Carlton Hunt, go ahead.
If I might speak again, thank you. I think the discussion right now is very cogent. And I do have the term usable may be a slippery slope because you have to define what usable is. Usable for what? Usable for how? So I would strongly suggest that if you're going to change the language, it would be recreational space. That could be many different things. It could be a walking trail. It could be a workout area for summertime, that kind of thing. But the other thing I would submit is that possibly these two boards committees could charge the CED department with coming up with some changes in language that might answer the questions that have been raised so nicely. Thank you.
Makes sense to me. I'm wondering if there are any comments at all from any of our public officials that are here, either our building inspector, economic development director, or town manager.
I'm all set, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rulli.
Yeah, I have nothing to say, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Solari.
Shane O'Brien, may I talk again?
Of course.
I just want to kind of thought to myself, it's good to consider drainage not part of open space, but there has been instances, and it's not, I wouldn't say just a discussion with CED, but I would say a discussion with DPW and engineering as well too, because the assumption at this point would be, rather than water be maintained on site, that we're looking for drainage to be part of some sort of stormwater system that the town has. So then becomes implications of, does the town's stormwater system, can it handle a particular project? Not to add another layer to infrastructure concerns, but it's just something to also consider regarding redefining open space to recreation space. I think that becomes problematic because sometimes when we look at projects like this, we're just looking at natural green space, shrubbery for this. Are we going to declare certain types of shrubbery to be not part of it? I think that we need to simplify it, but we also need to make it in an approach that is sensible both for the protection of the town, but also for someone coming in to understand what is green space, what's this percentage, and how can I utilize it based on what I see before me. But
Correct.
other than that, all good.
Okay, I will ask planning board chair. Oh, I see Councilor Ellenberg has raised your hands. Go ahead. You can unmute. Shane, can she unmute or do we have to unmute her?
No, she's, yep, no, she's.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Okay, sorry. I favor the 40% green space because it makes a potential city, which we are heading towards, more livable. And I also agree with Carlton Hunt's suggestion that within the 40%, perhaps it be designated that 15 of the 40% be purely recreational. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Driscoll, how do we proceed from here at this point?
I can't see everybody. Is there any more public comment, Mr. O'Brien?
No, I don't see any virtual hands raised, nor do I see any buddy in the chat.
I have a question, if I may, Mr. Driscoll.
Go ahead, Mr. McDonald.
Mrs. Ellenberg, you said the I'm sorry, the amendment would make the city more livable. Can you describe how?
Yes. Actually, many years ago, I used to live in a city with a 5-story apartment. It had a courtyard in the center where people could socialize. That's the sort of thing where maybe the courtyard is small, only 10% or 15%, but people can socialize. It's a recreation place. You can have a playground for kids or whatever. And I think that with the CED and all of that, we're talking about increasing density all over town. That's why I say we're like on the verge of turning city-like. That
That's it.
being the case,
Oh, sorry.
you don't agree? Okay.
No, I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. So, part of the open space gets taken up with driveways, sidewalks, all that sort of thing. The retention ponds, all of that. That's why I think maybe 30% open space and 10% reserve for recreation. And I'm just suggesting that as a potential amendment. Not that I'm on the board.
I guess as a follow-up, Mrs. Ellenberg, I apologize for that. Mrs. Ellenberg, would you say that becoming more city-like is a goal? Is that a good thing to work towards?
No, that's not what I'm trying to work towards. I think that we need to preserve our country atmosphere as best we can. And one of the ways of doing it would be a little more green space. And if a building had to go up a story to have more green space outdoors, I think that's preferable. So I think we should put the green space in our code.
Those seem slightly
And maybe
at odds, don't they?
designate 10% for recreation, as Mr. Hunt said.
Those seem slightly at odds, don't they?
What? The open space and the recreation?
Your desire to have it become more city-like and more space
No,
for recreation.
I
You
do
don't think
not.
so?
I am on the record. I do not
Point of
want it to
order.
become more
Yes.
city-like.
Yes.
And I'm trying to promote green space. So,
And Mr. Lundy,
Yeah.
so I agree, but I honestly think that, and Council Ellenberg, just when you said driveways and things of that nature could be on open space, they can't be.
okay.
And this 20% is in addition to, this is dedicated open space. So this is basically, hey, right away you have a 7-acre parcel. You're gonna carve 1/5 of it out and you're gonna leave that treed, or you're gonna leave it in its natural state as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna develop the remaining 80%. In that remaining 80%, I would guess that the majority of that remaining 80% is going to be green space. This is in addition to, so right now, your home that your individual house is on, you could build a structure on and pave up to 80% of that, right?
Yeah.
This requires, before you even start your development, the 20% gets preserved. And
Mhm.
and then you develop your lot, so your site or your common lot. So
Would it be possible for this board to consider a, the compromise of 30% with 10% being guaranteed for recreational? And that would honor the amendment that is being
well,
proposed, but being reasonable about it.
and just thinking out loud though, recreational. So what do you mean? Are you now clearing more land?
Recreational as in walking path or perhaps a jungle gym for kids or, patio furniture. I don't know, whatever recreation.
Well, we require that in the neighborhood itself. So in addition to that, we require that. We actually require, and if you saw the one plan that we did have come before us, there
Mhm.
were sidewalks, there was a community center, a small community center. So
Okay,
this
that's good.
this is all in addition to that. So so and I don't and I get it, and I believe me, I want to preserve as much open space as possible, but I'm just trying to think, like, if I'm the developer, right? And I have seven, and I have, let's do this math out, right? So if I have 7 acres, right?
Yeah,
So 7 times 4 is what, 280, right? So that's 20, that's 28 units as of right? And then you get a 25% bonus, so call it 6 on top roughly. So that's right, that's call it seven,
34.
7 on top, 35, right? 35 units.
on a 7 acre lot, you're saying.
35 townhouses, right? So you could do, in residential D, you could do up to 35 townhouses. I think I can still fit those 35 townhouses, whether it's 80% or 70% or 60%, they're just going to be closer together. So I guess what's better for design? Is it to have those units spread out a little bit more with walking paths between them? Or is it better to have those units tighter together?
I don't know, but I would rather see more like 25 units on the thing, less units, but
And
whatever.
that does, so that happens as you get further out. So
Mm-hmm.
so if you had a 15-acre parcel in residential AB, which is the majority of the zoning in the town, you
Mm-hmm.
need, Shane, is it 15 acres?
For
You
residential
need,
D, that's minimum.
right, you need 15 acres minimum. So on that site,
Residential D.
you could only have 15 units. So do you see what
Mhm.
I mean? You can have more than double on half the land closer to the center of town.
Correct.
And I
And
think
that's
that's
when the
why
buildings start to go
Shane,
up.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
And that's when the buildings start to get taller in the center of town.
Well,
And
and
hopefully
that's what,
residential D, which is the band outside of it, stays 1 story and fewer units per acreage, but
and that's where I was wrong initially, so I apologize that I said you could do a building. Mr. Walsh and Mr. Um, the- O'Brien corrected me. They have to be townhouse, duplex, or single family.
oh, okay.
So they have to be in this zone. So that's why I'm saying, if that's all you can build in this zone,
Mhm.
so in the density doesn't change. It's just now you're putting those closer together, or you're attaching more instead of duplexes, having triplexes. So I think given a little bit of flexibility, you can create more walking paths and things of that nature if you have
Mhm.
those units spread out a little.
Interestingly, a friend of mine just got a place in Florida, which is a quadruple house. So it's not a duplex, it's a quad with each one having its own corner. So who knows what builders will come up with.
I guess a good question is Shane, the project that we did look at, right?
Yes.
I can't remember. Do you know what the open space was on that project? I mean, I know the minimum was 20, but do you know what they actually came up with for open space?
I can bring up that particular preliminary design too.
Can you show that one so people can
Yeah,
see?
I can,
Because this kind of follows the rules.
sure.
And if we want to make if we want to make changes, we can kind of take a
Yeah,
look.
I just, through you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if people may have seen this design, and this ordinance is a reaction to this particular project.
Well, if you don't, can you, without putting you on the spot, can you pull it up? Oh,
I have it. Can you see my screen or?
I'm sorry.
So, for this particular project, let me just zoom in. To see if I can fix this for us.
Isn't there one with like the trails on it and the green space, like colored?
I believe this is what we particularly have for this one. So it talks about the open space on the exterior of this, as well as the open space along the community center, as well as the open space around the property and the open space in the front. I think we have information about the drainage basins on that. So I can see where
Yeah, I
these
agree. I mean,
I can see
that
where particular concerns may come up in terms of drainage basins, but like I said, um, in terms of open space, this is something that our current open space allots for, and I don't think the applicant had the intention to, you know, go against this. It just would make this particular project a little more difficult, and the intent of the ordinance wasn't to kind of create issues for these properties within the residential D. So, but yeah, even then too, this is it was a preliminary design um, before the for the planning board, but nothing has come before us for a special permit. So, you know,
and
um,
that was a good reminder because I didn't realize that back portion, that much of it was drainage. So
well, even then too, we didn't view it from a drainage standpoint, but it does comply with what our current open space is. I wouldn't particularly say that this particular project we can discriminate against as long as, I think we need to look at it when more information comes before us, because there are implications from that plan that we kind of reviewed regarding spillover that necessarily hasn't been completely reviewed. So it doesn't mean that that's what's going to be approved. We kind of just looked at it and said, okay, you have open space, you have the open space for the particular property. So carry on and continue forward if you want to pursue a special permit.
Mr. Brown, is there a particular project that you expect to come before us that you're talking about here?
Well, we had one come before us, but I would say that I don't think that we can look
that
at
was just it. That was it.
that was the preliminary one. But are there implications for other projects? I'm not looking at this to react to one particular project that the percentage has to change. I look at this and say, okay, so this is going to affect other residential D projects in town and may make them less viable to be built on. So maybe that affects the ability for senior housing village to occur in residential Ds, whereas there's more prominent acreage within our residential A, B, C, D because residential AB is like 60-70% of the town, so there's more opportunities there.
But I do see the concern after seeing basically all that open space is drainage. So
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do these and do it right, the entire intent is to have areas people can recreate in, right? That's the intent of open space. If it's all drainage basin, I don't know about you guys. I don't want to take a swim in there.
so I just had a thought. So and we can keep going around if you guys want to go around, but I think maybe a potential flaw was identified in this. I don't think we want to go to 40%. I think that would hurt senior village development close to the town. But maybe Mr. O'Brien can look at that and figure out a way to get language where it says the drainage basins, shall be contained within the 80% or something like that, so that 20% is preserved, keeps the existing tree canopy, it's usable for walking and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That'd
what I
be,
could
totally good to me.
Yeah, what I could say to that, Mr. Chair, is that I would say the implications of that, which doesn't mean that we can't look into it in the future, is that it would require zoning ordinance change in terms of what we define open space beyond just senior housing villages, as well as recognizing issues that may occur in our subdivision rules and regulations, because those standards are what we hold applicants to for stormwater. So I would say the change of percentage has now opened up our conversation, but I think it's a good one to have, to look at what is open space, how do we differentiate it from green space, and space that's usable, or if we differentiate the two, as well as look at stormwater implications for open space within town with subdivision rules and regulations as well.
Could we simply change the language, Mr. Bryan, to like usable open space?
It would require another new zoning ordinance, and I think, like I just said, we need to understand what implications are. If we're reactive to a particular project based on that, then it could have implications for other projects. So I think we need to kind of dive into it and discuss, whether it be through a workshop of the board or a joint workshop with CED, in terms of understanding what the implications of that is, as well as looking at other communities and how they kind of handle it, and looking at just kind of some stormwater implications that may have for this change.
Thank you. You mentioned other communities. Do you have any information on how other communities handle these kind of things?
From my particular experience, some communities differentiate green space and open space. But other communities take zoning from other communities. I'm sure, people have taken some of our good zoning and utilized it in some of their ordinances, but it's just understanding implications and understanding what, from a development and a town standpoint, what we're looking to complete here. So, does 40, the implications are, does 40% hinder all projects in the residential D, or does it get a better outcome of a project? It's, that's what zoning is, and kind of creating opportunities for developers to come in and understand what we want and what they want to kind of, how they want to utilize it.
I mean,
I guess
the other thing, so I'm looking at 8.7.7. So the entire site has to have a 20-foot buffer strip that it says no vegetation in this buffer area will be disturbed, destroyed, or removed except for normal maintenance. So I don't even know if that plan, and maybe that's something we missed that came before us. It looked like there was grading within that 20 feet. Maybe there isn't, but so there is a.
Well,
I agree. We probably should try to limit the percentage of stormwater on those lots, but we do also require a 20-foot buffer strip on those sites.
yeah, I would say, based on the ordinance, Pat, the intent of that ordinance was not to go, well, no, I'm sorry, not the ordinance. The intent of that preliminary design was to provide those percentages to the board to show that they're meeting it, as well as breakdowns of units, and seeing if the board feels like this is appropriate. It doesn't mean that the board necessarily endorses and approves the project. It just means that they have gotten through this first step. So similar to like a preliminary subdivision plan, someone provides us the information preliminarily, which doesn't mean that the board endorses the final product. It just means that the board is okay with what is currently in the current layout, but more information is going to be needed, whether it be through landscaping plans or water impact forms, et cetera, et cetera.
Next steps, Pat.
Well, if we want to, we can close the public hearing and then we can each deliberate, our own boards can deliberate. So it's up to how we want to proceed. Are we ready to, is there any more input? Do we want to close the public hearings?
I think so. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing from the CED standpoint. Could I get a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, Sonia motion and Marilee seconded. Any further questions or comment? Okay, Sonia,
Yes.
Marilee,
Yes, and I'd like to say a quick thank you to the planning board for so much attention to this.
okay, and myself, Claude, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Driscoll.
All right, so do we want to close the public hearing at this point? Does anybody else have anything to say?
Do we want to take a last roll call for public comment? That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, is there any, I'm happy to do that. Is there anybody that has anything to say just to the planning board at this point? I don't see anybody. Shane, you?
I don't see any virtual hands raised. I don't see real hands raised. I don't see anyone in the chat.
Ja-
So
Janet unmuted. I don't know if she has.
Yes. Sorry. Janet Hanson, Pleasant Street. It doesn't help the decision making, but it just, I agree that the town needs to definitely work on the definition of what open space is. This is news to me and surprising that drainage can be considered part of that open space. And personally, when I think of open space, I think of untouched property. I don't look at it as having a golf course or a playground, or it sounds like the town just thinks open space is just a place where you just don't build a house, but you can put other things. So, but there should be definitely a better definition of what open space is. I think most of us that are listening to this never knew that drainage and land, grass and stuff could be considered part of that open space. So that's my side note. It doesn't help the decision on 40%, but I still agree with the 40%. Thank you.
All right, so do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Mr. McDonald, do you have a second?
Second.
Mr. Fabrowski, any discussion? So I'll take the roll. Mr. McDonald? Mr.
Abstain.
McDonald? Mr. Costa?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, did you say abstain?
Yes, sir.
This is just closing the public hearing.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Fabrowski?
Yes.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, thank you. So, Mark, we can all deliberate together, I guess, or we can
Sure.
do it separate, but you
Sure.
know, I think the proposal brought to light some potential cracks or issues with the ordinance, and I wouldn't want to just willy-nilly go and change it to 40 just to change it to 40. Maybe Mr. O'Brien through his office could work on some other language that satisfies what we're trying to do, but doesn't basically restrict these developments from happening, because I think they're needed. I think they're low impact. I think they create good tax revenue. They bring spendable dollars to town. I think the different type of housing that we're looking for, single families and townhouses, which, but I get it. I mean, seeing that plan and seeing that the majority of it was drainage and not usable, that really isn't the intent. So, but I don't think just saying let's do 40 40 40 makes sense either. So
I'd agree with Mr. Driscoll. I think we can come to a good compromise. Maybe the 30, maybe the 20 and hold off and see what we can figure out. But
I also agree with Mr. Driscoll.
I would agree. I think it's premature based on the information that we've discussed to move in a blanket way to 40%. I would like to see some tangible data around changing it to 30 potentially, or focusing more so on the language piece of it, which I think is just a bigger conversation. Seeing that proposed plan, that site plan, and that was pretty jarring knowing what the requirements are for those buffer zones. So it was pretty much all drainage if you really zoomed in, and I did zoom in. So my thought is we've kind of gone around and around, and we're all kind of thinking similarly that it's a bigger scale conversation. So I'm not prepared to blanket it at 40%. I do love the idea of preserving as much green space as possible where we can. However, I think we need to define what that really looks like in a big picture way, which, as we've also discussed, will impact other parts of our zoning while doing so as well. It's not going to just impact this. It will create a domino effect in other ways. And I don't think right now, based on what we have, we're prepared to do that. So those would be my comments.
Mr. Strigels, I completely agree with you. You mentioned some like professional testing. What do you think would help us here?
As professional testing as to what?
In part of your commentary, you mentioned we have to have this like tested. What do you think would help us in this circumstance?
Well, I mean, I don't think I necessarily said that things had to be professionally tested. I think they need to be examined in a data-driven way of, if we are to create going from 20 to 40, that's doubling what we would need. And as Chair Driscoll said, I mean, I work with developers all the time. They're going to squeeze as many units as they can, as they're being told they can, in the space that's provided. So you will get a lesser product because of that squeeze. So we're doing kind of like the opposite. We want these attractive buildings, we want these attractive townhomes. So we might be doing the opposite of the quality piece of things when it comes to the financial piece as well. I do think that it could have financial implications for a developer based on what they're able to build. And what they're willing to build based on the size of the space that they have to work with. But I would like to see some more tangible data that supports a 30% to make sure that we're still being advantageous to the people that want to build what we all deem as much more desirable than, say, 100 to 120 unit buildings.
I apologize for misremembering your words, but I thank you for the response.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other thoughts?
I have a thought on here. I agree with Shane about having a workshop, like a group workshop, so we can decide about like what kind of language we would want to put in there. Me personally, I think the 40% is actually pretty good, only because I see that we're putting the drain basin where there's a bunch of duplexes, and if I was a kid, and I'm not gonna play in my yard with a duplex because it's no really anywhere to play or anything. So I feel like if we had like an open space for people to like play or something, especially in an area like that, but we need some language written in there. We can't just throw it out there 40%. Hey, here we go. I think we need a workshop, is because I know Mrs. Striggle was saying that like we need something to like talk about, and I think it's the workshop that we need to do as a group.
So Mr. Costa, the only 55-year-old living there with a kid playing in the yard will be me.
Well, okay, well, that's true. But you know what I mean, like walking areas or whatever, hangout areas. You don't want to walk. Like, you don't have a 55-year-old walk in the circle.
Oh yeah, no, I was just giving you that.
Whatever, But they need somewhere to go, is what I'm trying to say.
And I think to Mr. Costa's point, if someone had their grandkids over, the last thing they're going to want is for their grandkids to play in an unsafe environment in a property that they spent a lot of money on and hold a mortgage and are paying the HOA fees and this, that, and the other on top of their mortgage and trying to create a fixed income environment. So I do see that it could be advantageous to be at a 40%. but I just think we're being reactive based on the plan that's in front of us, and there could be another plan that's proposed that meets the 20% requirement, and we're all super happy with it. So I think it
So-
almost is. I think we just need to potentially handle things in a workshop, yes, format, but maybe not change this right now, but maybe work with the developer to see what could be done to make it better, since it's preliminary at this point.
Shane, maybe we could just, so I'm in our zoning right now, right? Because Council Striggles and Mr. Costa bring up good points, and so it says for purposes of this ordinance, so it's open space. For the purpose of this ordinance, and except as noted herein, open space shall be defined as the portion of any lot which is not occupied or otherwise located beneath buildings, structures, or areas used for parking, loading, access, storage, or solid waste disposal activities. Fences, walls, signs, and drainage facilities permissible under the subdivision regulations may be allowed and within compromise a portion of the open space provided said land remains largely landscaped with natural or planted vegetation. So do we define what portion? Is that the easiest way to handle it? What a portion is? Because
Well,
it's
I guess we can workshop the idea, because we say therein, implying that if we had a different requirement within a district, then we can do that. I think what we're bringing up as part of this conversation is a bigger conversation regarding. I think it went from a percentage to talking about what is open space, and is it necessarily this project, or have we been looking at projects to say, oh well, I guess yeah, that could have been something else. I think, the implications here in terms of trails and all that stuff too is based on the user, but there are also implications on projects, open space and recreation, open space and conservation developments have certain standards as well. But certain subdivision standards, your open space percentages, we see a lot of subdivisions that include drainage structures as part of it, and that's what we consider as part of the open space that's maintained either by the town or the HOA.
and maybe that needs to change. So
I agree.
I agree too.
Same here.
all right, so we have this ordinance in front of us. We have to give a favorable or unfavorable recommendation back to the council. What does the board want to do? Planning board.
I'm not. So tonight's like a favorable of what? Saying that we
So
that
do we
agree
want,
with the
so we have to
40%?
report, back to the council whether we agree with the ordinance as written or not. The ordinance change, I should say.
I mean, I don't agree until we like get more language, or I just don't agree with it right now.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Yeah,
make a
go-
motion to make an unfavorable recommendation with the addition that the planning board send a memo to the town council about our deliberations and the changes we'd like to see in it.
So what are those changes?
Mostly about the open space. Um,
Like, so you want us to consider evaluating the definition of open space and the allowance for stormwater on open space?
said much better than I could. Yes.
Yes, yeah. I agree with that, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. McDonald, you made that motion, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Costa, do
Second.
you want a second? Okay.
Yeah, second.
So just discussion now. So, I mean, at first I thought I was just going to be against it tonight, and then I think that seeing that plan and talking about drainage structures on it, I am concerned about, having quality open space. So I think that anything we can do to make sure that the intent of having quality open space is preserved, I think would be a benefit. But I think just changing a percentage and not addressing the underlying issue, is why I'd vote no. So I would.
I agree with you completely. Like a drainage ditch is not open space. Kids can't. Well, I mean, they can and they will play in drainage ditch, but that's not open space as should be envisioned.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. McDonald to unfavorable, but ask the council to work with us to consider a definition of open space and the allowance for the disallowance for the drainage basins to be on there and to make sure it preserves quality open space, correct?
That's correct, sir.
A second by Mr. Costa. Any more discussion? I'll take the roll for the planning board. Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
Mr. Fabrowski,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
So, Mr. Lindy, if you guys want to.
Yep, I will open this up and entertain a motion from one of my fellow counselors.
So moved.
Same motion as the planning board.
Yes, an unfavorable vote.
Okay. Counselor Hunt.
I'll go ahead and second it.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I would like to just add one thing. I don't know if this isn't my area of expertise at all, but I know I've seen some very nice places like this in other towns. I'd like to know what do they do? How do they define it? What makes it look really nice and charming and like we would like to have ours look? So what do their planning boards say? What do their rules and regulations say? Is there any way of finding out some of those things and bringing that to a workshop?
Who you asking the question? You asking if
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. This isn't really part of the vote.
Well, let me take the vote first and then we'll
Okay.
go into that. So, Marilee,
I think I said no.
so, okay, Sonia,
I vote for it to be unfavorable. I thought we were voting to open up discussion.
Oh, are we voting to open up discussion?
Yeah. And then we take a roll call after that.
okay, so go ahead.
So my thought is, every town has their own zoning. So every town is going to ask for certain requirements around that zoning to approve projects. So whether it's by special permit or simply by right, there's going to be certain zoning requirements. If there were certain places that you've driven by that you're of interest to kind of find out what went into that zoning, we would also want to know when they were constructed. Is it within the last 5 years? Has any zoning changed to allow for that structure? Has zoning changed to not allow further structure that you find to be the more favorable option? But I think at this point in time, I keep going back to the fact that if we blanket it now, we might be limiting better projects in the future that adhere to that 20% a lot better based on the quality of the lot itself. So the lot itself that we're dealing with clearly has some drainage issues if it's going to take up that much drainage in that one spot. So in my opinion, so I think that there might be another spot, then maybe it's 5%. But I think if we're going to workshop something, we need to workshop that language that Chair Driscoll talked about with that portion language. Like, what are we really looking at? And I think that to put the cart before the horse, although I do find this plan to be slightly troubling for what our mission is, I think we all agree we want that green space. But this specific plan kind of doesn't adhere to all of our intent and all of our goal. But it's preliminary, so that's the best part of it. It's preliminary. We can hopefully work with the developer to have them see that maybe there's a different way. If there's not, there's not. But I don't think at this time we can make a blanket decision, so that's why I would be an unfavorable vote. And we can discuss that more so on the council level and go off of the planning board's memo that they're going to be sending as well and present that back to our fellow councilors.
So an unfavorable vote would be a yes vote, correct?
Would be a no vote.
Didn't the planning board?
So
Councilman Strigels, yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I got a little cold. May I ask a question?
Sure. I still want to know on the vote how the planning
So
board.
Mr. Limby, I think Mr. Striggles made a vote to not recommend.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's, so I think that if you were gonna, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think if you were gonna vote to support her motion, you guys would vote yes. If you're gonna not support her motion, you'd vote no.
That's what I thought. Mr. McDonald, continue, and then I'll take the vote.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Strigels, what project do you think is before us that we're voting for or against?
Well,
I think
Mr.
should
McDonald, we're not voting on a specific project, but a project has been referenced in this meeting quite a bit, and a plan was shown. And I think when that plan was shown, a lot of us found it a bit jarring when we started correlating what we all know to be those buffer zones that need to be on any type of project like this, and the excessive amount of drainage that happens to be in that spot. So I'm referencing that project, and I don't want to necessarily have us make blanket decisions based on one project that is in a preliminary stage versus if we had 8 projects to show for the same law and they all showed the same thing. Or we had
Thank you
8
very
projects
much.
on 8 different lots and they all showed the same thing. I think that that's more tangible data to make a decision on versus just one project.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Strigels.
Okay, so I will now call for the vote. Sonia,
Yes.
Marilee,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
Okay, so CED committee, thanks for joining us, and
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adjourn our CED portion of the meeting.
Seconded.
Okay. Sonia,
Yes.
Marilee,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll, Mr. O'Brien, and members and public that participated. Have a good night.
thank you.
okay. Okay, so back to the planning board meeting. We've taken care of item 2, which was the joint hearing. We've had 3 continuations, so we're on item 5. This is the street acceptance request. So we have. So are these really 6 different orders, Mr. O'Brien?
Yeah, so each street acceptance came in as a separate order. So the reference for each order is correct on our agenda. It references each individual private way as a separate order. We've had 3 that were continued from the last meeting on October 15th. That includes Timber Lane, Oldfield Road, Urbic Circle Extension. Those are orders FY 26, 15 through 17. As well as we have orders FY 26, 26 through 28 in reference to Magnolia Way, Hickory Lane, Sycamore Lane. As we are aware, Timberlane Oldfield Road Urbex Circle Extension is part of the Oldfield Estates Phase 2 subdivision, aka also open space and conservation development, as well as Magnolia Way, Hickory Lane, Sycamore Lane are part of the Bridgewater Preserve. But I do believe we have the
Attorney
developer
Castanedo.
developer available after learning a lot about open space in senior housing village development. So I believe Lee Castanedo is here to discuss, as well as we received some communications from the town engineer regarding this matter.
All right, so so Attorney Castanedo, you ready to go?
Yes.
All right, so so just so I'm clear, Timberlane, Oldfield, and Urbex Circle Extension, those are considered the Oldfield Phase 2, correct?
Those are the three roads, the three streets in Oldfield in the phase 2, correct?
And there's one memo on those from the engineering division. So why don't we focus on those three all together? Lump those together, if that's okay, Mr. O'Brien, right? Because they are referenced all together in the review.
I think that would be the appropriate way to handle it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I did see it looks like based on so Attorney Castanet, can you do me a favor? Just can you walk through how many open space parcels there are on this property and how they've been conveyed and where they stand at this point?
Yes. There are two open space parcels on the property. The open was identified as the open space common lot 1 is the one that had frontage, minimal, but had some frontage on the river, Taunton River. And that was conveyed to Wildlands Trust. Wildlands Trust, had expressed interest in acquiring that together with the parcel for Bridgewater Preserve. And then there's the other parcel that directly abuts what was formerly I believe it was called the Jenny Lee Park, that we were required to dismantle as part of this development, which we did. And I have reached out to the town on more occasions than I can count, asking for consideration to accept a conveyance of that parcel. And to date, I have never received a response from a single party within the town in response to those requests.
So when was the last time you had communication with the town on that? Because I know that the planning board, when we did it, the last modification, you said we would have first right of refusal, and I read through the 2019 trust, and it still says that. So, are you willing?
It's not a matter of a right of first refusal, because in the case of the parcel that was conveyed to the Wildlands Trust, we had to get from the town a waiver of the right of first refusal, because it was a third party that was interested in taking the parcel. So we had to get that waiver. In this case, the right of first refusal doesn't apply, because the party who holds the right of first refusal is the party that was seeking to transfer it to.
So in reading that trust, though, and we had talked about this, there is some language in there that it should remain open space in perpetuity, but there's really no conservation holder. We talked about doing, if it was going to remain the HOA, doing a conservation restriction. And that doesn't appear to have been done.
Conservation restriction to whom?
So you, in the trust, it talks about permitted and excluded activities on that land?
Correct. There are
who supervises that, enforces it, and oversees it without a conservation restriction?
The HOA, the trustees of the HOA.
Right, but typically when we do these open space neighborhoods, there would be a CR through the state, and the Conservation Commission would oversee that the trustees are doing the appropriate thing with them, so that pieces can't be sold, or they're not doing prohibited activities. And I think we talked about that. I mean, I think this trust was done in 2019, so we said that we'd like to see this property conveyed to the town, and if the town didn't want it, you'd put a CR on it. And we talked about the same thing with the other parcels that either go to Wildlands Trust or you put a CR on those as well. So the CR process was never completed on this, correct?
There's no CR. There's the conservation restriction in the trust.
But
Us.
no enforcement authority.
No.
Okay. All right. Mr. Tansey, everything else from a development perspective looks good?
Yes, I've been out there for the last 2 days. Um, everything that we had requested was done. Catch basins were cleaned. The street was swept. The basins look very, very good. They've all been mowed. Outlet control structures are clear. There were a few divots that somehow were made in a few areas of the sidewalk in the preserve. And those were all restored. Those were all infrared and repaired. And it everything that was on the punch list that were developed by myself, Mr. Antonero, the contractor, Mr. Castagnetti was out there as well. Those punch list items have all been done.
Okay. I mean,
It-
after reviewing your report and stuff, I mean, my only issue is what we still talk about. I mean, I understand there's restrictions in the trust, but there's no holder of a conservation restriction. So basically the people responsible for enforcing it are also the same people running it. So typically there's a holder and then there's somebody that manages it. So the HOA should be managing it, but there should be a CR on there through the state and have either Wildlands Trust hold that restriction or the Conservation Commission. But we've talked about this for years. And I personally would like to see the town take it. So hopefully we can continue that discussion or fast track those. And if they don't want it, that's up to them. But we can't, we've run into issues with this with other neighborhoods where there is no CR and the HOA runs the land and then pieces get carved off and there's no oversight. And that's not the intent. I mean, the intent is this is supposed to be open space in perpetuity with oversight of that open space. So I'm going to go back to saying what we've said for years. And we said years ago, you either need to put a CR on it and have the HOA on it, or it can be conveyed to the town as part of the street acceptance. Any other board comments or questions?
I mean, I just agree with Mr. Driscoll and his entirety. A large part of the acceptance project was the conveyance of that to the town. So without that, I can't be in favor of a street acceptance.
Well, and the town may not take it, and we can't control that.
That's totally fine. Yeah,
I hope they do, but we need a CR on it if the HOA is going to want it. So
correct. Yeah.
I hope the town takes it.
You and I both.
Well, let's make it clear that the town's done absolutely nothing to express any indication that they're inclined to take it.
Okay. I mean, I'm willing to continue this one. I mean, if Mr. Costa, Mr. Fabrowski, any comments on this?
I agree. I think you can continue it to get that cleared up.
Just
do you want to continue it to the next meeting? Well, actually, let's check. Is there anybody from the neighborhood on this call that would like to speak?
I would say that I think people would be notified, Pat, through the
town
public
okay.
hearing process once it would be reached out to town council. So no one's really notified unless they're attentive to the agenda in this particular matter. And just in terms of order of operations, what we're looking to do is a recommendation to council. It's a non-binding recommendation. Just being that I think we're close to it in terms of when we receive this order. I think if we're looking for an extension, that we at least notify council of such.
Well, I guess I'm hoping that we get a path forward in the next 2 weeks, either with the town or with the CR moving forward. And then maybe we could recommend it favorably, but without movement towards the CR or the town giving some indication whether they want it or not to him in writing, I think that I would have to vote to not recommend now. I don't know how everybody else would vote, but
Well,
instead,
oh, sorry. I apologize, Mr. Driscoll. I'm just saying, would the nuclear option then be to give town council a vote to not recommend to make them look at the issue?
well, I mean,
That's not going to make them look at the issue.
I think I would rather try, I mean, we have town staff on this call now, and I think we could get an answer from the town relatively quickly.
I would say,
I'd rather try to work with Attorney Castanetti and get it done correctly. Either have us get working towards the CR if the town's not going to take it, or have the town say we're going to take it as part of the street acceptance, so we can move forward. But if we
I think
don't recommend it, then it has to come back to us. If Attorney Castanetti is willing on this particular neighborhood to push it out 2 weeks, maybe we can let the council know that.
Yeah, I think that's, I'm obviously going to have to pursue the CR with the Conservation Commission. Wildlands Trust doesn't have any interest in this parcel at any level whatsoever.
Yeah, or the town. I mean, maybe we can get the town to get back to you this week or next week too.
That's a big maybe, but
we have staff on here, and
I'm quite open to. I couldn't be more receptive to it.
All right, no, and I think
years.
I understand your frustration. So
I don't think you do. I don't think you do.
All right. So
It's been quite frankly, it's not just frustration, it's insulting.
So we'll
repeatedly reach out to the town and not have the courtesy, the decency to respond to a single correspondence.
Well, I agree. So I apologize for that.
Your apology, it wasn't sent to you, but thank you anyways.
And we'll address it in 2 weeks. And if you're going to move the CR direction, we'll work on some sort of agreement, I'm sure. So
I just, in terms of, like I said previous, Pat, I think it minimally, I'll have to at least forward a letter over to council, just understanding that we're looking probably for an extension for our recommendation.
Yeah.
Just so that they don't place, I understand that they're probably not going to place it on the agenda without some sort of recommendation, but just
yeah,
in
I think
terms of,
I think you could tell them that the applicant agreed to it as well, instead of giving them unfavorable tonight. So
sure. So yeah, like I said, we have.
And I'm not mincing your words, correct, Mr. Attorney Castanetti?
No, that is correct.
All right. So do we have a motion to continue this to what's that, November?
It would be the November 19th meeting, Mr. Chair, and this is reference to FY 26, 15 through 17.
So moved.
By Mr. McDonald. Do we have a second?
A second.
By
Eric.
Mr. Costa. Any discussion? So Mr. Fabrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. So moving on to the same or a new group, FY 26-026, FY 26-027, FY 26-028. So again, Attorney Castanetti, on these parcels, all open space parcels in this neighborhood are basically owned by Wildlands Trust. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. But you basically maintain the mailbox areas and the well areas, stuff like that, right?
Those are on parcels owned by the HOA. Those are entirely their responsibility.
But the two open space parcels, I looked them up today. Those are under Wildlands Trust, correct?
That is correct.
And there was a memo, Mr. Tanzi, that it looked like you had 7 action items, and it looks like all those were done. There were some references to some things being done on 11/5, which is today. Are those things completed?
Yes, they were completed. Just minor sweeping of sediments out of the gutters along the road, and they were all completed. but the preserve, the road looks good. I spot checked the catch basins. They're all pumped out. They're free of sediment. And again, the basins were all mowed. The place looked very nice.
Okay, great. And the open space has been dealt with in this neighborhood, so, any board comments? Any members from the public here to talk about this one at all? So Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Tanzi, your recommendation is to recommend street acceptance?
Yeah, but
Yes.
based on the information provided, I would say it's appropriate for the board to make a favorable recommendation, just based on the conditions of the roadway.
Okay.
No.
All right, so do we have any, Mr. Costa, Mr. Fabrowski, Mr. McDonald, any questions or comments?
I just have, I guess this is a question to Lee. I know that Calthorpe was featured on the plans, but I think that's currently before council right now, then will be coming before us.
I had overlooked, that was my mistake. I had overlooked that when I did my initial submittal.
Mhm.
And so that was submitted subsequently.
Okay, so I want to make a point for the board that we will be we have the plans for Calthorpe on here, a portion of Calthorpe, but that item will be coming before us once I believe we get our comments from the various departments
Is that all of Caltop or just a small
No,
piece?
no, just
portion.
Just a small
the extension from the abandoned
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac into the subdivision.
So just to let the board know, we're not going to be voting on that today, but that'll be an item that'll be coming forthcoming in the future.
So, and I know it's premature, Mr. Tanzi, we can talk about this later, but when you do the bond release calculation, you referenced only one storm drainage system in this neighborhood. Is there only one in this whole neighborhood?
No.
No. There's several of them, stormwater basins that
All
are
right,
in
so
that.
that basin bond, that basin maintenance payment is per basin.
I don't.
I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was just a
Well, I
flat
mean,
rate of,
we can talk about that later,
yeah.
but Mr. Antonero used to do it per basin, so you may want to talk to the DPW director. I mean, whatever it is, I'm fine with, but in the past, Mr. Antonero did per basin, so.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
But that's a DPW question. So. And that's not before us right now, but I just saw that in the letter, so. All right,
Okay.
so is there anything else on this, Mr. Fabrowski, Mr. Costa, Mr. McDonald?
No,
Nothing from me, sir.
All right, so do we have a motion to recommend FY 26, 27, and 28, which would be Magnolia Way, Hickory Lane, and Sycamore Lane?
Motion,
I'll take the
Motion.
motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Fabrowski?
yes,
Motion to approve a favorable recommendation.
yes,
Mr. Fabrowski, do we have a second? Mr. Costa, did you say yes?
Yes.
So Mr. Costa, second. All right, any discussion? So all in favor of recommending Magnolia, Hickory, and Sycamore for a street acceptance? Mr. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Fabrowski,
yes.
and Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Attorney Castaneda. Hopefully we get this resolved in the next 2 weeks, so.
I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Have a good night.
Too.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien, we do have 3 sets of meeting minutes, May 7th, May 21st, and August 20th. Those are all in our packets.
We have August 20th, 2025. I do apologize. Being that, invited to speak in front of town council got me all giddy. So I reviewed the August 20th, 2025 meeting regarding MBTA communities, and while watching it, took the minutes down too, but I'm gonna have to play catch up with our May minutes in a format where, you know, I have some language that spells out kind of a summary of those meetings, but I really kind of want to give you guys proper information on how
So,
the
so
meetings
why
went.
don't, do you want us to hold off on all three? Are you saying you want to touch up on it?
I leave it up to you guys. Obviously you can't vote to May 7th and 21 because I didn't provide them to you.
All right,
But
let's put it, if you guys are okay with it, let's put everything on next meeting then.
I
yeah, we
agree.
can.
Works for me.
Board items for next meeting, November 19th.
S- So what we would have for the next upcoming meeting, we have the continuance for 593 Plymouth Street. I have an A&R right now, before us, that's in reaction to an ANRAD that was pulled. So that's, I
Where is
think,
that?
what's that?
Where is that,
I
A&R?
believe it's it's the corner of Oak Street. Because I know there was some interested parties, interest in that. But I'm in the process of review.
Is that posted yet? Or can you send that to the board?
Yeah, well, I gotta send you guys the A&R plan. I'm just in the process of reviewing it. So, I'll get that to you guys. Actually, I'll have to get it to you guys this week, because I'll be out next week. So,
Okay.
we have that.
So wait a minute though. When did you receive that?
I received it, so it was stamped in by the town clerk's office today.
All right, so we have 21 days.
So it'll be prepared. It'll be ready for a vote for the 19th.
Okay.
And that meeting, of course, will be hybrid.
Okay, and then just the continuations that we had, so the other continuation we had tonight was 593. Those other two went to December 3rd. Okay.
Correct.
All right, I didn't review the 2026 meeting schedule. Was that in the packet?
Yeah, so I just kind of threw some dates there. You know, we're pretty typical first and third Wednesdays of the month. I just have some noted dates on there just based on holidays and people's life.
What is AW and
That would
PM?
be Ash Wednesday. So just I'm highlighting Ash Wednesday, Passover, and the first week of July. I think I've went through the schedule. April vacation once again is not on the same week. But you people with Bridgewater children can let me know if there's any other conflicts, whether it be a
When is February vacation?
it might be the week of the 18th as well, Pat, but I'm not 100%. Isn't it typically, I don't know if it's in their holiday or something, but
All right, so
but
you want to adopt this we'll look at it and we'll adopt this at the
yeah,
next.
just we can have a continuing conversation. I would prefer to adopt this at least by the first meeting in December.
All right.
But you guys have it in your packet, and I just want to make sure that these dates make sense and that you guys have canceled plans on all these days for 2026 moving forward.
Okay. Any committee reports or reports from you or anybody in town? Mr. Solari, Mr. Tanzi, or Mr.
None from me.
Rulon? Tanzi, who's still on? I can't even see.
We're all here.
All right, so we're good.
Well, just in regards to, I can report some stuff quickly if no one else has anything. So I talked to finance about roadway bond reporting. I gave you guys a copy via email, I think also in the packets regarding what our current numbers are for roadway bonds. So looking through a couple of them, you have a couple larger projects like Oldfield Preserve, Oldfield Estates that are holding a fair amount of money because work hasn't been completed. So, but the anticipation that that money's be given to us, as well as projects like Winter Street that has been recently deposited. There's a couple projects where older projects where we're still holding money that's not enough to really handle some work that hasn't been completed. So I just want to kind of have that continuing conversation with you guys. You guys have the information now. But I'm working with finance right now to kind of gather the information of what work is missing, what these costs are attributed to, and how we can look to maybe in the future proceed with utilizing that money to either complete the subdivision or kind of get these developers to kind of complete the work that they haven't completed yet.
Good, all right.
But
And just one other thing, can you, I mean, after our discussion tonight, and it seems like there's a lot of frustration from a lot of people in regards to the Jenny Leonard assemblage, can you make sure that the appropriate people have this information so somebody can respond to Attorney Castanetti or have a discussion with them?
sure, of course.
I don't know where those requests were going, but
As you know, our department can't accept land.
oh, and I know we the town manager changed, and I think that'll be worked out. So if you
Agreed.
could just keep everybody in the loop.
Sure thing. But I can do a quick planner's report. I got a couple things. So I sent out some trainings for CPTC if any people are interested. They have their fall winter trainings available. I think they're all via Zoom. But please just let us know if you're interested. As well as I'm going to need some signatures. The Broad Street Perkins Foundry project is mailing us some Mylars for their special permit tomorrow. So I'll need board members to come in and sign that project. I know that there's a fair amount of board members that I would say pretty much all board members that are in attendance here were either did not participate in the project or didn't vote favorably for the project or was not participating in that original project. So we're going to need,
Shane, I read there was an article on one of the newspapers that that project's delayed to a railroad permit. Is that true?
not that anything I'm aware of, I'm talking to the developer today. They're looking to send over the Mylar, but
Yeah, there's like a Bridgewater Rainham news page, and it said that there was a workshop done by the Historical Commission, and that project's going to be delayed because of the failure to file a railroad permit.
from our historical commission, or are we talking MHC?
No, our local.
Do they have that authority?
They didn't ask for it. They said that they had heard that they needed a railroad. I don't know what a railroad permit is. I've never heard of it. So
I don't know. I would take that news as lightly, I guess. But from all indications, just the information I'm looking to provide is that I'm going to need board members to once again come in and sign the plan. So I'll say the same to Steve. I just need to kind of consult with council in terms of being that there's been so much turnover for the board. Is that do I have to seek out original approvals members or looking at current members of the board and familiarizing you guys with that project? So
well, I recused myself, but
correct.
I can probably sign it if I mean there's the rule of necessity, right? So
Yeah.
it's not changing any vote. It's just
Will we need to do any kind of special? If we wanted to just do it as the current board, do we need to do anything or?
No, I don't see that being an issue. If I'm just trying to logistically figure out they're sending 35 pages of Mylar and I just want to make sure that we sign it and properly do it correctly. And this project's been around, it's a substantial amount of time in the amount of turnover. I just want to make sure that we're doing things properly.
Gotcha.
So I'll keep you guys in the loop, but they're hoping for it to be signed quickly, as well as I'm hoping to resolve this
I'm sure
quickly
they
too.
are.
Hey, they want to from all indications they're looking to move quickly. So, but other than that, I'm good on I think planner's report. That's all I have written down.
all right. We have a motion to adjourn.
I have one thing.
Yeah.
I would like to, back to, I saw the list, Shane, that you sent out on all the road bonds. And one of the ones I saw was the fireworks circle. And fireworks circle now is going on 30, 40 years since that bond was taken. When will the town act on that? Or what is the upcoming steps that will be taken? Should that bond be recalculated by Mr. Tansey to be re-updated?
Those are the questions we are looking to ask ourselves. So
Is
yeah,
that what
that
are you work? Is that
We're
what you're
asking
working?
ourselves, I'll give you the answer.
Shane, is that, you said you were working on how to handle that,
yeah,
correct?
I'm looking to see what number, and like I said, it's sometimes it's difficult to find the information in terms of especially the longer the bond is, the less less value it is for us to utilize it. So it's just having the converse. Like I said, I had a conversation with finance that they initiated, and at the last board meeting, we talked about what the current bond numbers are. So I'm happy to have this item continuously as another business item so we can discuss it.
Yeah.
But I got to give you guys information so we can better suit ourselves for each of those, I don't know, was it 12 or 13 bonds, and figure out which
I
ones
mean,
can be taken off and who needs to get paid what.
well, some of those you put on there, like I know, like Crimson Way and things like that. Those were drainage retention bonds, so that they stay with the town, so those can fall off, right?
Yeah. So the issue with those are, and this comes, I think, in the form of one of the most recent stormwater bonds, is that we're only allotted and allowed to keep 5,000. So for those three bonds, we are still subjected to provide interest to the owner of the property.
Hmm.
So just letting you know, so because a lot of those can be cleared out as well. I think there's one that's 10,000 that can be cleared out, but we have to take the appropriate measures to give the owners interest, as well as do a better job taking that money out so interest isn't generated.
Okay.
I think though, in those situations, most of those are built out and the lots are completed. In the situation of Fireworks Circle, there's still 4 lots remaining.
Yeah,
However,
and it would be good, Shane, and to have Mr. Tansey in this all his free time to go to some of these older neighborhoods. I know he's extremely busy, so
Well, if we put them up to 50 to 60 hours a week, I think we can find
all
some free
right.
time for them.
So, all right. Anything else?
All good.
I thought we were gonna be done I have a bunch of emails due for work. I thought we'd be done by 7:30 tonight.
no
We're
such.
good? Motion to adjourn
So moved, sir.
by Mr. McDonald. Do we have a second?
Second,
Mr. Costa? Any discussion? So I'll take the roll, Mr. Bobrowski,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
yes.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. And remember, guys, next meeting, if you
All right.
want to, it's in person, so
Hopefully I'll see you then.
See y'all later.
thank you.
Take
Hey,
care.
thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
See ya.